Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today we are making some tomato and wine braised oxtails in a delicious gravy. We're going to have some rustic mashed potatoes as well as some steamed green beans. Go ahead and like this video if this plate already looks good to you, and let me know in the comments if you're going to be making this. I have 4 pounds of oxtails that I've already washed, and I have trimmed off the excess fat because y'all know oxtail got all that extra fat on it, okay? I'm going to season this up with a little bit of olive oil, some pepper, my favorite oxtail seasoning here, which is by Grace. I'm also going to be using tons of herbs today. So I'm going to go in with some rosemary, and I'm also going to use garlic powder. And I'm just really doing this to taste, but I will estimate some measurements for y'all in the description box. I also put on some minced onion, and I added a little bit extra olive oil because I wanted the seasonings to stick. But don't really get too crazy with it because, you know, when you make oxtails, you tend to have to skim off that extra fat at the end. And I don't just want to be throwing my good oil away, okay? But I do need enough so that I can sear this meat. I'm going to mix this together well and then go in with about a tablespoon of this Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to let that marinate into the meat. Even though I'm going to be braising this for a while, I like to let my meat come up to room temperature. So I'm going to mix everything together. I'm going to cover it with foil, and I'm going to let this sit at the side for 30 minutes. Now, you could do this overnight. That is best. But hey, you know what? We ain't always trying to do all that because y'all know I'm going to put these oxtails in the Instant Pot. Now, we are going to be making a delicious homemade tomato sauce today. I am using fresh cherry tomatoes because they are sweet. So if you can find some really good sweet grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, then use that in this recipe. And to enhance their sweetness, we are going to roast them in olive oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of dried herbs, and I'm going to put them in the air fryer to roast, but you can also do this in the oven. Now, my goal was to roast the garlic with the tomatoes, but really I should have started the garlic first because the tomatoes are going to roast a little bit faster. So I didn't get the garlic as roasted as I wanted to, but doesn't matter, it was still delicious. Now, if you can't find nice and sweet cherry tomatoes, then just go ahead and use a good quality canned crushed tomatoes. I'm also going to add in some sweet peppers. They're going to roast as well. So I'm going to stick these in the air fryer at 350 for about 15 minutes. Of course, you want to check on it. And listen here, honey, if you start making a roasted garlic and roasted tomato homemade sauce, ain't nobody gonna be able to play with you in the kitchen, baby, okay? They gonna see you ain't here to play games because the homemade freshness really does change the flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my tomatoes and peppers and my garlic, which you can see ain't roasted enough, but you know what? We ain't gonna talk about it, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and blend it in my mini blender. Now, the professional thing to do would be to blend it and then put it through a sieve to get out the tomato skins and the tomato seeds and make it really smooth. But I didn't do that today, okay? But you can if you have the time for that. Now, when my sauce is ready, I am going to go ahead and start searing my oxtail. I'm going to add just a little bit of oil, and I'm going to sear this over a medium-high heat until it is nice and brown on each side. That's going to take about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, and you don't want to skip this because this will add a depth of flavor to your oxtails that you can't get by simply throwing them in the pot. When they are done, I'm going to take them out and go ahead and put them in my Instant Pot container, and then I am going to add in my celery and some onion. I'm going to saute this for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to put in about a cup of white wine. Now, you can use white wine or red wine, but they will have different effects on the sauce. The white wine is going to give a light, somewhat acidic flavor, which is what I wanted for today. The red wine is going to add a nice deep body to the sauce, which is also paired very well with oxtails. And that's something that I do a lot. Whatever you choose, you want to make sure that you pick a dry version. That means it's a wine that is not sweet. I'm going to add in my oxtails with my onion and celery, the tomato sauce with the wine on it, and I'm going to mix this together, and I'm going to go in with the rest of my herbs. Y'all, we are going crazy with the fresh herbs. We're using bay leaves, we're using thyme, we're using oregano, we're going to have rosemary. This is going to really change your cooking. If you have not been cooking with fresh herbs, I need you to start doing it today. And I know they're a little pricey at the store. Get you a little pot and grow some on a windowsill. All right. I'm also going to add in some allspice, some cinnamon, and a clove for a nice kind of like an undertone flavor to the gravy. I'm going to put in some carrots that I've cut in half. You're going to leave them large because you don't want them to become mushy. And I'm going to cook this for 45 minutes. Then I'm going to start working on my rustic mashed potatoes. I call this rustic because I'm leaving the skins on. So I'm going to use some baby potatoes that have a thin skin. About 2 pounds. I'm going to put in a lot of salt, about a tablespoon, and about a teaspoon of chicken bouillon with a sprig of rosemary. And I'm going to let this boil for about 20 minutes until they're really tender. It may look like it's a lot of salt, but when you mash those potatoes out, honey, you ain't gonna feel that way. All right, I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, as well as some sour cream, and I'm going to put in some pepper. I'm going to let this just cook on a low heat just so everything can melt, and then I'm going to dump my potatoes right back in. I have a handy little potato masher I'm going to use just to, work them potatoes. Okay, we're going to work them things until they are nice and smooth. And I really enjoyed the skins in this. It just changes it up a little bit and it adds a nice texture. But if you don't want it, of course, you can peel your potatoes. I'm going to just mix these together with my spatula until they are nice and creamy. And I didn't do that many potatoes because the hubs don't eat too many potatoes. But of course, you do as many as works for your family. I'm also just simply going to steam some green beans. They take about 5 to 7 minutes to cook. These are fresh ones steamed over some hot water. And at this point, I have been natural pressure releasing for about 20 minutes. And then I quick release the rest of the way. I'm going to take off those carrots. And y'all see this pool of fat. All right, it's just a bunch of it in there. Now, I ain't afraid of fat. But I don't want all that grease up in my dish. So I'm going to take out all this fat layer and I'm going to just put it to the side. And, look, give it to the dog. You know what I'm saying? They like it. All right. I'm going to season this up with about a tablespoon more of beef bouillon. And I also went in with a little pepper to adjust the taste. It needed a little bit of sugar because I used that white wine. It's to balance the acidity. Okay, but we ain't making it sweet. Okay, I don't necessarily want sweet oxtail. Okay. And then I am going to just simmer this until the gravy is at the thickness that I like. Ooh, baby, baby, baby. Do you see this oxtail? Nice and tender in a delicious homemade tomato and herb wine sauce. This is perfect paired with the mashed potatoes and green beans. Let me know if you're going to try this. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. And God bless you for supporting this channel. Goodbye.